The Civil War, the bloodiest time in American history, when the North and the South were divided because of the debate over slavery. In Lincoln's presidential campaign, when Lincoln won, the South started to secede, the first being South Carolina.
The Confederates. The Confederates were the ones who seceded from the Union. The Confederates were almost all from the South. The main advantage for the South was that the Union's greatest generals left the Union Army and went to the South. The South only had one strategy, and that was to defend their territory. One of the three great generals from the South was General Robert E. Lee. With very little troops compared to the Union, he out-strategized the Union generals many times. Also, the Confederate strategy was when they would use the home court advantage. The Union had many advantages. They had many more factories in the South, so they could produce things like more weapons and shoes. They also had more troops and railroads, so that meant that they had a bigger army and a quicker army, because the railroads led them there.
How this war is fought.
The Union gained advantages over the South by using the telegraph system and making more railroads. In this video, it explains the telegraph better.
The invention of Morse code in 1844 turns the telegraph into America's first tool of mass communication. Quickly encoded, the basic system of dots and dashes, even for brief messages. Like Twitter today, it needs just seconds to send them and transcribe them. Where messengers previously took days, on horseback, over hundreds of miles, and across every kind of terrain. Now, the country's 50,000-mile telegraph network means communication is almost instantaneous. As telegraph poles snake out alongside the railroad lines, this vast country begins to shrink.
The Union had railroads. These railroads had troops reinforced many times because of how fast they got to the battlefield on the railroads.
The South did not have many advantages, but the video explains some of them.
South had was better military leaders, like most of the tactically famous generals of the Civil War, Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, Jeb Stuart, etc.
The Emancipation Proclamation is when slaves were emancipated, but not because people wanted them to not be enslaved, but because Lincoln needed more men in the army. The Emancipation Proclamation let the blacks free in the South, so they came to the Union and served in the army.
During the Civil War, the politicians in the South and the people's lives changed dramatically because they had to make a new government, and slavery had been emancipated, so the white farmers did not have slaves to help them in the farm.
Lincoln and his generals turned the tide of war using all their key advantages and winning key battles like the Battle of Gettysburg and Vicksburg. The Civil War is finally over. The Union were victorious, but at a costly expense. They had lost many people in the battle. The Union won because they had key advantages that the South did not have. They had railroads for more supplies and reinforcements. The telegraph helped the generals because they had more people helping them with their strategy. Even though the South had great generals with great strategies, they could not compete with how fast the Union had reinforcements and all their ammunition restocked. The Emancipation Proclamation, which banned slavery, put a deep hole in the Confederate economy because of how they had very little slaves in the field to help them with their economy. Key battles like the Battle of Gettysburg and Vicksburg were important because the Battle of Gettysburg had 1/3 of Lee's army badly injured or dead. The Battle of Vicksburg was important because it gave the Union total control of the Mississippi River. All of these combined resulted in the Union victory and the South losing.